Politicians feel as fast as both and seven.
Liars, burning fires.
What you got to this place,
And I can't take no more.
you know it ain't hard to see through your facades. I know it ain't true.
We're going to be bringing you this new podcast covering topical news stories of the day, decoding the New World Order, and a whole lot more. So without any further ado, let's welcome aboard Kip.
Oh, Kev, aka Swiftship, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Obviously, a few hiccups there at the start, but we'll get over that, hopefully. How's things with you, and what are you looking into today, man?
Well, the hiccups, anyway, it's all par for the course, and we'd be lying if we said we didn't expect it, so...
Well, it's our first go at this kind of thing, isn't it, Craig? So hopefully over time, we'll iron out all the mistakes, and together, along with the audience that we'll build up, you'll hopefully see us improving as the weeks go on. That's the plan anyway, Craig, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll take each show as it goes, man, but it is what it is, and all we can do is do our best, my friend, and we'll certainly be doing that.
Well, one of the news stories I've been working at today is that obviously North Korea have launched a fourth missile in 2 days. Now, the one thing I'll say about this at the moment is we haven't seen any footage of any missiles being launched. All we have is the word of representatives from Seoul and the Western media will take their word on it, which isn't exactly reliable the best of times. We've seen no footage out of Pyongyang of the usual North Korean talking head who comes on and, with all her bluster, announces to the North Korean people how great they are. So I don't know about what your take on this is, Craig, but it just seems as if maybe this could be the smoke screen that they're going to throw up to take away people's attention from the three big scandals in the US right now. And those three scandals are the IRS scandal, the AP wiretapping, and obviously, the most damning, in my opinion, is Benghazi Gate. That should, in my opinion, be taking the Obama regime down. Whether it does or not, I have my doubts. But what's your take on North Korea, man?
Well, I was saying to you earlier on, buddy, that I think what's happened in the last, what has it been, the last day or something, the last 24 hours with North Korea, it goes to sort of a show that North Korea is pretty much a dancing monkey. It's pretty much there, mate. He's sort of a, I don't know, we've got something to do over here, so, I don't know, somebody pay the organ grinder so the monkey can dance in North Korea, move a few missiles about, test a few missiles, and at the end of the day, in reality, what the hell has happened? A guy that owns missiles, a country that owns missiles, has tested those missiles to see if they work. I mean, I'm trying to remember now, it wasn't that long ago that I'd done a video about Britain with American supervision under the command of NATO held Trident missile tests just off the coast of, I think it was just off the coast of Florida. Nobody but it's Britain, they're just testing a big nuclear bomb that goes boom and kills people. And North Korea roll out missiles to sort of try and ward off the... I don't know, man, it's like...
Well, I was going to actually say, you've got a good point there, because it totally stinks of double standards. Basically, if any other country in the world...
Hypocrisy, you're kidding me on, mate.
Well, if any other country in the world was actually testing these missiles, it wouldn't even get 2 lines of print in the mainstream. So why is it that North Korea... Why do they treat them like this, Joe? I don't see them as any big threat geopolitically. So why are they used as this distraction? Why are they painted to be the new bad guy?
Well, it's quite easily... Well, I think it's easily explained in the sense that the way they're sitting right in between a couple of superpowers, right in between America / NATO and China. I mean, there's a... there again, there could be an argument there what goes on in North Korea. Although, so what's happened recently, publicly at least, North Korea has lost some support from China, publicly at least. Obviously, like, oh man, I can't even remember the stats now, but there was at some point, I think it was, I heard the stat, was 70% of North Korea's food comes from China, and that isn't stopping. So the Chinese support are still supporting North Korea, although publicly they are condemning missile tests and stuff. Although I think underneath the table, they might not be so kind of what China's doing.
Yeah, well, definitely China definitely are playing a big part in this. I mean, the North Korean military, we can basically say, is made up of ex-Soviet and ex-Chinese hardware, and it also, I believe, there's Chinese generals actually embedded in the North Korean military as advisors and with technical support and things. But yeah, publicly, China, they appear to be backing away from North Korea slightly in the last kind of crisis about a month ago, didn't they? Behind the scenes, I honestly think that China using them is yet another proxy in this world of proxy wars to basically give America another problem on another front. Because, in my opinion, World War III has already started, Craig. I don't know what you think. We've got America fighting in how many countries right now? Britain as well. We've got the troubles in Africa. It is all over the world, and I just see all this as geopolitical manoeuvring before the big war starts. But maybe I'm just eternal pessimist, man.
No, man. Well, you seen the videos that I done, I don't know, what, 2, 3, 4, maybe even more months ago, when I was like, well, World War III started. Although because the BBC doesn't tell you, it's like you've got the BRICS setting up what would you call it, economic bloc to rival the current status quo. You've got the civil unrest through these, because austerity, I mean, when you look at austerity, what is it really? It's an ideology. It's pay the corporations more and give the people less. That's what this bullshit, the austerity crap that they're trying to pass off in all is. And it's like, as the old Chunky Mark says it best, man, it's the moving of public money into private hands, and it's no different for that. I mean, like, if the public aren't getting any of the taxes that they're paying, don't charge the public any fucking taxes. But on the other hand, if you're charging taxes, at least give the taxes to the people and stop complaining that, oh my god, the NHS costs that amount of money. It does cost that amount of money because healthcare costs money. Stop complaining about how much it does cost.
Okay, you're on about austerity, yeah, and I don't know if you've seen the video that I put up earlier on, or probably more apt to call it a little rant, but these paedophile parliamentarians down in London, they've only gone and they're going to go and vote themselves a £20,000 pay rise. Now this is on top of the £66,000 that they already earn today. The average wage in the UK is only £26,500. They're telling us we have to live in under austerity while they're voting for themselves, funnily enough, to give themselves a wage rise. I mean, you can't blame them for doing it. Anyone can do it. But does that make it right? It's absolutely ridiculous. Austerity is just a joke. And like you said, and like Chunky Mark says it best, it is the pigs at the trough of public money, and they are soaking it all up and putting it into private pockets. And it's us, me and you, and all the listeners out there, not just in the UK, but worldwide, we need to remember that these people that we vote for, they represent us. Represent us. So let's remind them of that.
Kev, who votes for them?
Well, I'm a hypocrite there, I must admit that, I'm a hypocrite, because I honestly think voting just facilitates them. That's what it does. The system's broke. Democracy doesn't work. It's just, you get the illusion of choice. But at the end of the day, when you vote the next buggers in, all they do is carry on the agenda that was so bad from the opposition. It's just a joke, man.
People really need to stop. See, this is the thing. People go, vote for them, vote for them, vote for them, vote for them. People need to stop voting. The second people stop voting, the second that these governments, every single person that doesn't vote is adding to the illegitimacy of the governments that stand there and go, hold on, I've got a mandate from the people. Like, hold on a second, nobody's voted for you, you like, what is it? Sliced ham face David Cameron. I mean, he stands up there and he's not even got a proper mandate. He's operating a coalition. He's privatising the NHS under everybody's nose. In fact, it's not even under people's nose. Then you've got King Clark, whose name has been mentioned in paedophile rings. Right, it has been mentioned in the same breath as Jimmy Savile and other paedophiles in the rings. And he's been a Prime Minister without portfolio for a long time. What's he done in that time? Set up private courts. Just in time for Operation... I keep getting this, Kev, is it U-Tree or Gumtree?
It's Operation U-Tree, Craig.
U-Tree. Which is a lot of the good police that are out there that want to crucify these pedos like the rest of us, doing a lot of good work, bringing these people to the stage where they're getting into court, and then they're hitting court and getting hot with all these secret orders by judges. There was a story out, I think it was in the Mail, I don't know if I want it, like, how long have we got, because I need to plug my YouTube channel.
Well, we've still got 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes till the next break, so you're alright just now, Craig, just keep going.
Well, if anybody wants to see where I'm really coming for, check out my YouTube channel, Freedom News Hub 2.0, cip 1883, and you'll see where I'm coming for. But I've done something on there about the secret courts and Ken Clark being complicit in the set up of these secret courts. Now a woman just get put through the secret courts for the audacity to take her dad out of a care home because she thought he was going to die there. So she went against what the state said. So the state jailed her for 3 months. Right, granted she didn't serve 3 months, but that was her sentence. She'd get 3 months. And for the audacity of taking her own father out of a care home because she was scared for his health. But how did the state deal with that? Oh, you mistreated our property, and that is, people need to wake up to realise that's the way the state sees us. I mean, work for a big multinational corporation, go and look up, they've got a department called HR, Human Resources. That's all we are, human resources.
Yeah, it kind of says all really, Craig, doesn't it? I mean, you're talking about secret courts there. I mean, are we living in Soviet Russia, or are we living in an episode of the Twilight Zone or something here? George Orwell didn't even imagine it being this bad, I don't think.
You're saying Soviet Russia or something, mate, but it's worse than that. It's Soviet Russia with a plasma TV. It's Soviet Russia with a laptop and a PC. It's Soviet Russia with these trinkets to keep you occupied, so people don't actually having to get the balls to actually do something about what's going on, man. Because mate, you only need to look out your window or on your street or walk down any high street, and everything's turning into the ball. Everybody's talking about, oh, we need to stay in a multicultural society. It's not multicultural. It's one cultural. It's blending everybody into this one big pus.
Well, I'm an honest believer, Craig, right? See if Hitler had a television in everyone's room during World War II, right now, me and you would be carrying out this podcast, this radio show in German, my friend. That's how powerful that television is in the corner of your room. It shapes your every thought. Everything you think, whether you like it or not, has been shaped by images you've seen on that screen. And honestly, if Hitler... Sorry, Craig?
I'm saying, what television, mate? I don't have a TV licence. What are you talking about?
Well, you know that the majority of people in this country, they're still hooked to the X Factor. They're still watching all their soaps. They're quite conditioned, and they're not called programmes by accident. They literally do program how we think. And the sooner we turn off the televisions and start reading books and searching news and information ourselves and start talking to the people about you instead of transferring all your hopes and dreams into the Google box in the corner, I think we'll probably have a chance to take care of it.
Kev, we've got 20 seconds until the break.
Join us after the break, and we'll be digging down into some more stories. And
we'll be getting to the meat of the pudding, mate. We'll be getting to the meat of the pudding.
looking around, not in the clouds, I wanna wake up to a dead in the grave.
All good in the hood, my friend, all good in the hood.
Just our classic bumper music on there.
Alright, man. Mate, I can hear you a lot better this time now. Maybe we've hooked up properly, man.
Yeah, I hope that's ironed out all the audio issues for anyone listening live. We apologise, but like we say, this is our maiden voyage. Hopefully it's not going to be the Titanic. And we'll be back every week, 8 till 10 UK time, 3 till 5 Eastern Standard Time in the States. But we're going to be needing audience participation in the future. We want you to tell us topics to cover, stories you'd like us to go into.
And even if somebody wants to try and phone in tonight, we can only but try. Whether these get on the air and it works or not, but please phone in, because why not try and make the show what you want it to be. What is it, Kev? We've got a couple of numbers. We've got a toll-free number.
Yeah, the toll-free number is 877-456-7631, or you can call in direct on 646-568-1021.
And apparently you can get in touch with Skype somehow, but I'm not 100% sure. Ask Kev, he's the technical dude.
Well, the technical geek here isn't quite too sure how to phone in via Skype yet, but
he ain't quite a technical geek.
I think people in the second hour, we've actually got our guest coming on with us. We're kind of calling him the Info Gimp. I know that sounds quite bad on the face of it, guys, but this young man, wait a minute, Craig, I think it's fair to say, this guy comes in with some absolutely fantastic info. We're going to be covering things like free energy, the Anunnaki, and a whole host more. So hour 2, stay tuned for that. Myself and Craig love going into the geopolitics and false flags and all the minutiae of the everyday news, but I think both of us have a passion for the more occult kind of information. And not by occult, I don't mean like satanic kind of parliamentary stuff. I mean just hidden history, hidden knowledge, hidden information. Would that be right, Craig?
That's very right, and I've just got some good news. The Gimp just came back for the shop. So I thought he might have been missing in action there, but the Gimp, the Info Gimp has just came back for the shop.
So yeah, coming up in hour 2, we'll have the Info Gimp. But something we were wanting to talk about, Craig, was the Syria situation, and the fact that I came across a story on the New York Times, and I'll just give you the headline here. Israel hints at new strikes, warning Syria not to hit back. So basically what you've got is nutty Netanyahu basically saying to Assad, listen mate, we're going to attack you, we're going to stop any transfer of missiles to Hezbollah and Lebanon, but don't dare hit back. It's like the schoolyard bully. It's like when somebody stands up to a bully, they don't really know what to do. I mean, this is ridiculous. In my opinion, the whole of the Arab Spring, all they have been doing via NATO and the House of Saud is toppling Israel's enemies. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Well, mate, me and you spoke about this at length before, man. You know that I think if you stand back and look at the bigger picture, man, right? Every single war, not every single war, sorry, but all the most recent wars, it can be traced back to one common enemy, and that common enemy is Hezbollah. And who is Hezbollah's mortal enemy? Israel. Iraq, Libya. You've got Syria now, you've got Iran on the chopping block. All these countries were anti-Israel and pro-Hezbollah, which go hand to hand. So a lot of people say it's about oil, which was definitely a contributing factor, but it would have been cheaper to buy the oil out of Iraq or Libya than it would be to go and bomb the shit out of it and then take the oil. It would be cheaper in the long run to buy the oil. When you print the money that you buy the oil with, it's always cheaper to buy the oil.
Well, you see, that's why Gaddafi became such a problem, in my opinion. The minute he started going to the African Union and telling them that they should be trading oil for gold, that was his final nail in the coffin for me.
Well, I think it contributed it, mate, and maybe speeded it up, but I think there was other contributing factors, and one being the fact that a lot of people have suggested, I've never seen it in concrete, but a lot of people have suggested that Gaddafi may have supported Hezbollah, right? Which makes him an enemy of Israel. He's sitting on a lot of oil over there. We're going out for break, mate.
Well, Craig, that's time for another break again. So join us after the break till we continue this discussion on Syria.
Me, Kev?
I certainly am, Craig, I certainly am, and for our first show, after that initial hiccup, dare I say we're doing not too bad. Obviously that'll be the listener's discretion whether that's true or not, but I think it's going okay, my friend.
What hiccup are you talking about, mate? That was the feds.
We had our Freeman-esque dead air at the start, which is, in my opinion, it just adds to the kind of flavour, mate.
Well, considering I've never done anything this before in my puff body, I think we're doing okay, so...
Yeah, well, we're stepping up to the plate. We've been talking the talk for a while.
Right, well, we were touching on that Gaddafi thing, mate, and again, I'm not trying to draw any definite conclusions, but I'm sort of trying to put different roads to think about it, and like a lot of people can say, well, it was the oil, it was the dinar, so on and so forth. And I was putting out the suggestion that it could be interpreted that Saddam, he fired missiles at Israel. Gaddafi, he was no fan of Israel. Assad in Syria, he's no fan of Israel, but has held quite a relative peace in that area for a while, but I believe maybe that wee bit of that hornet's nest right now is getting stirred up because obviously Israel has its eyes on the Golan Heights. Now, if you're Israel and you want to take control of the Golan Heights, how do you achieve that? Do you allow Assad to remain there in peace with the sovereign right and the illegal occupation of Israel in the Golan Heights just to continue as the status quo? Or do you bring about some disruption in that area, stick in some mental Wahhabists shouting Allah Akbar, chopping people's heads off and stuff, and then go, we need to go in there to protect ourselves? And then you get all the talking heads, Kerry and Haig, or William Vague, or William Vag, I don't know, whatever you want to call him. You get all the talking heads up there saying, Israel has a right to defend itself. Go out and murdering fucking innocent people is not defending yourself. Everybody's got a right to defend themselves, but fucking only when it's talked about what Israel's doing is attacking defined as defence. It's ridiculous, mate.
Yeah, well, when it comes to Israel, right, I think it's important that we point out right now, we are not saying Jews. There's a big distinction to be made between Jews and Zionists.
Mate, let's not even lower ourselves to that. It's kind of coming out and going, I believe that immigration rules is a sensible debate to be had, and then coming out and saying, but I'm not racist. It's like, I hate living in a world where people need to come out and justify reasonable points of view.
I don't think it's fair to tag all Jews into the Zionist pot, Craig. That's what I'm getting at, basically.
I'm certainly not suggesting that, mate, and you know yourself with my channel, man, look at my stuff, man, and like I'm not anti-Semitic, I ain't anti-Jew, I just don't agree, anti-Zionist, and very close to being like anti-Israel as a concept, man.
See, the Zionists are so clever, that they stay so hidden and they hide behind Jews. And that's why a lot of people just tag it all onto it's the Jews or Jewish conspiracy, stuff like that. And that's why I like to differentiate between Jews and Zionism. That's all I was getting at, man.
Oh no, mate, you know me and you're on the same page.
I just think it's important sometimes, though, because when you listen to podcasts in Radio Land, there's a lot of people just tag it with Jews, and that kind of annoys me. It really does, because it's just pigeonholing the wrong people, basically. and it's the Zionist tactic to hide behind them.
Well, it's just an easy. Like I don't know about you, Kev. Like I didn't participate in the Holocaust. I've never persecuted any Jewish person in my life. I don't treat anybody different because of what religion they choose or not choose to believe in. So I don't feel guilty of other people's fucking moronic behaviour or treating other people differently because of whatever way they choose to think. As long as it's not, well, everybody has to deal with this in every day, but in an ideal world, as long as it didn't infringe on my personal freedoms. But it's a smokescreen, and you know I call it the Jedi mind trick of the anti-Semitic card. Like, no, I'm talking like Israel's a country, not a religion or race. And Zionism is a political ideology. It's not a religion or race. So to demonise those two, well, a country or whatever you want to, or the state of Israel, to demonise it or not agree with it, is not to be racist or anything. In my opinion, it's basically to be fucking pro. It's to be humanitarian to disagree with Israel, because look at what's happened since the concept of that place. Even you know I get this mixed up, mate, what is it? Is it the Balfour Treaty?
It's the Balfour Treaty that was signed in 1917, and that was Lord Balfour and Lord Rothschild. I can't remember which one of the Rothschild scumbags it was, but they basically came up with an agreement that part of the land that is now Palestine would be given to the Jewish people to set up Israel.
Aye, but mate, like even back then, right, a lot of people will go, right, well, these people signed that, and now, if you go and look what's on that treaty, now I'm paraphrasing here a wee bit because I can't remember the exact words, but you'll find a section that basically says this is set up not as a apartheid Jewish supremacist state, but for equal rights for all, because historically that part of land has been religiously significant for a lot more people than just the Jews. And you just need to look at what's happened. I mean, just look at, go and look up the definition of apartheid and go and see what happens in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. The West Bank, you have Palestinians staying under military law. You have roads and buses primarily for the Palestinians, and then you have the Jewish settlers in illegal settlements staying under Israeli law. So they've got two laws, which is pretty much the definition of apartheid. And then,
so Craig, to bring this back to Syria though, what gets me is when you look at Syria, right, we're basically funding. Let's not dress up. It's Al Qaeda, okay? We're funding and we're arming Al Qaeda via.
Who's funding it, mate?
Well, the West, the West, right?
Yeah, I understand, man. But look, this is another point.
The bit I'm getting to though is, right, on paper, Al Qaeda and Israel, they should be enemies. But now you're seeing Israel going in and bombing Damascus on behalf of, well, Al Qaeda.
Well, mate, like this is one of the things that I think, if any positives, if that's the right word to use, can be drawn out of what Israel done with that, some sort of whatever, like that big bomb. Let's just call it a big bomb, right? That big bomb they hit Damascus with. Now, within that blast, with an educated guess, there was probably Russians killed within that. Because obviously Russia, that's where Syria gets all its military, the vast majority of its military hardware for Russia. So the engineers, the technical know-how and whatnot, all were for Russia. And after that big bomb when Israel attacked Damascus, look, Kev, I've had a brain fart, mate. What was my train of thought there?
Well, you were talking about the Russian troops being killed in the bombing of Damascus when Israel went after the arms depot, or basically they were saying it was a chemical weapons dump, or they were saying that there was S-300 missiles bound for Hezbollah in the Lebanon. if that helps you at all, my man.
Oh, well, like, my brain fart went just before that, but that's okay, I'll carry on anyway. So, in the wider picture, I think what I was getting at, and sorry, I was touching on Israel's involvement. Oh, this is a good thing I can talk about. I watched my favourite Jedi mind trick, and before anybody, when I say Jedi mind trick, it's a parody, it's a play on words of Jedi mind trick, right? And when I say it, I primarily mean people that support the Zionist state of Israel, not just Jewish people, because there's a lot of, by all estimates, there's probably more so-called Christian Zionists out there than so-called Jewish ones. But as we were touching on before, Kev, that's me and you both agree that it's pretty much a smokescreen put up there to just control a large group of people. All forms of controlled religion or organised religion as such.
Well, for me, the way I look at it, Craig, is the House of Saud are playing a big role in this too. And if the New World Order's plans were to pass and everything's successful from their point of view, I think what they're actually trying to do is create a pan-Islamic state, which will spread all the way across northern Africa. It'll come up around Israel and then up through Syria, Iran, everywhere else. And it's the Wahhabists that want to take control of that area. Now, in my opinion, this is why you see so much Saudi money being given to Obama pre-2008, which I believe is illegal anyway, taking contributions from a foreign country.
Mate, I just remembered what I wanted to touch on, and it was kind of like that you're talking the way you described the Pan-Arab state, and we were touching on it like before the show, that the Muslim Brotherhood, by certain interpretations, could definitely be seen to be handed a certain area of land. That would include like Syria, Iraq, so on and so forth. And Israel seems to be complicit in supporting that. I mean, like, please correct me if I'm wrong. When was the last reported Al-Qaeda bombing on an Israeli target, either in Israel or outside Israel?
Well, I must admit, Craig, you've stumped me there.
There is none, mate. Nobody ever points that fact out. When is Al-Qaeda, who you would think with their religious ideology, their absolute craziness that people, that the mainstream puts up there for consumption, when was the last time they bombed an Israeli target inside or outside Israel? Never. But yeah, what was it, that Bulgarian bombing, who did that get blamed on, and all the other bull crap, which is, you know, my opinion. I think that's just the secret services tickling each other's balls underneath the table, mate.
Well, I think right now, any terror attack at all, I mean, it's been proven 90% of them have at least had surveillance from the FBI or MI6 or somebody, if not actual direct involvement, where they supply the bombs, they actually go into the mosques, they pick out young men that are easily manipulated, they radicalise them, they provide them with all the materials, and then when they actually bust open this entrapment, in my opinion, they parade it on the mainstream media as if they're the great hero. It's absolutely pathetic, and I don't know how people still buy this, Craig.
Well, you're lying to me there, mate. You do know why people still buy this, man. It's the fucking telescreens in everybody's living room. I mean, it was you that actually brought that up to me earlier on, man. Like, the telescreens are just... Yeah, well, it's programming. It's blatant programming. You only have to sit and watch programs nowadays, and you'll see government agendas in the storylines. With the anti-Second Amendment stuff in America right now, we've seen one of the big shows to come out of there was The Following, and I'm just looking at the clock there, guys, and we'll be going out to a break in a second. We'll pick this up on the other side. I don't know if you've got anything else we want to say before you go, Craig? Yeah, I want to say, please email us in or phone us in and remind us where we left off, because I would have probably forgotten by the time this break comes in.
So join us again after the break, folks.
Catch you in a bit.
How many more this supply? How many souls have to die? How many missions left to fly over Palestine?
On our TV screens, and I mentioned a hit show from America called The Following. It starred Kevin Bacon, and basically this was, like I say, it was a hit show, millions of viewers, and at the time we had just had, obviously, the tragedy of Sandy Hook, where I do believe there was children shot. I know there was crisis actors and everything else. They were in and around the actual event, but in this actual programme, they started actually demonising guns, and two of the bad guys that were introduced on the show, they were introduced as military to start with, and then they basically said, oh no, we're far worse than the military, we're anti-government militia, and it showed you their basically their arsenal, and it was just demonising gun owners in America. And like I was saying before the break, what you see in these shows on your Google box in the corner, the Hypno box, is basically government agenda being forced out to you, shaping how you think. Whether you like it or not, subconsciously that'll have gone into some people who are easily manipulated, and they'll have now formed an opinion on anyone who is tagged with anti-government or in a militia over in the States, where that applies more. So I don't know what you think of that, Craig, but it's just one example of how government agendas are pushed out into the mainstream.
Definitely, mate. Like, there's no doubt that the telly screen in your house should be used at your own peril.
You see, this is the thing, Craig, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's like a knife that can be used either to cut food or to stab somebody. The television right now, with the broadcasters and everything else, it's just like a propaganda machine.
Now, that's all it is, and if anybody doesn't think that the TV has a way of influencing you, go and check out the amount of money that is spent in the way of advertising on television, and that speaks for itself. And people go, well, that's just advertising. Well, what is advertising? It's messages, images that influence you.
It's basically a science now, isn't it?
It's, well, depends. Well, look how you only need to look at Bernays in the way of how much the advertising literally is mind control. Sex sells, this sells, and it's very obvious on modern day TV, and it's put and it's packaged in, and this makes me sound like an old man, and I'm certainly not. But it's packaged in like, oh, it's okay, like it's fine. But yeah, a naked woman, looking at a picture of a naked woman is fine, but looking at a picture of a naked woman being sexualised, in my opinion, and I don't know whether it's since I've been looking for this stuff, but you see it on the TV more and more, and over in the UK we used to have the 9 o'clock watershed, and in my opinion you see a lot more stuff slipping through the radar, and I don't know about you, if you feel that you see a lot of that even in like the advertising and stuff over here in the UK, Kev.
Well, the advertising side of things is pretty blatant. What they do is they'll take a product and they'll associate it with, let's just say, Beyonce, and I believe it's Pepsi. And then what that actually appeals to on a subconscious level, the R complex of the brain, is that people will transfer, it's as if they transfer themselves onto Beyonce if they buy that product. They take all the good aspects of her life, and it's as if they take that to replace the crap that surrounds them in normal everyday slavery. It's as if it's quite hard to explain, Craig. I don't know if you know what I'm getting at there.
Well, I see where you're coming from.
I mean, you have all these stars, all these idols, these role models, so to speak. And when these, I don't like calling them sheep, but people that aren't awake, when they latch on to somebody like this, it's as if they associate themselves with that person and that brand, whatever brand they're with. and they transfer, it's escapism basically, but it's used to get you to buy a product.
Well, you just need to look at the amount of celebrities that are used to more or less shift product. I mean, you and me both like a wee bit of football or soccer, and there's been professionals punished in the past that have wore the wrong brand of boots, the wrong advertised shirt, and have been penalised financially for doing that. Because at the end of the day, society pays for what. Well, the people that are control the money dish out the high wages for what they deem is worthy, and in simple terms, the bread and circuses is deemed so worthy that these sports stars, footballers, so on and so forth, get paid a fortune. Scientists, teachers, nurses, doctors, in relative terms, get paid a pittance. And the question is, what sort of a society offers that up as fair and just?
Well, what kind of civilization are we, Craig, when we're allowing all the stuff to happen to the young people, not only in this country but worldwide?
Good topics, great guests, all the time. You become a welcome up and radio on your biscuit. Doing the glove.
There is no doubt we've done no too bad. And what did you say, that we were bouncing off each other on too well?
Yeah, just like that. That's exactly where I was coming from. In the first hour there, we basically touched on the North Korean so-called missile crisis. We touched a lot on Israel and their involvement in the Middle East.
Can I just summarise for one thing, like with all this crap that's going on, man? I've not managed to clarify this point. I believe, and I was saying this to you earlier on, Kev. I believe the AP and what's the other scandal? The IRS scandal have been put out there as controlled scandals to take heat away from the Benghazi scandal, because at the end of the day, AP, they've hacked the press, right? But that's bad enough. I'm not saying that isn't bad, but like, right, okay, they've done that. The IRS, oh my God, they've done what Nixon done. But in Benghazi, by all accounts, there's a strong possibility there was a stand-down order that left 4 American people dead. And that's what and that's why they've got their puppet. And after this last episode, I'm now convinced North Korea's a puppet. They just roll out their missiles when America/NATO, whatever you want to call them, need a distraction or need a big boogeyman to go, whoa, stay afraid, people. Because look how quickly, and Kev, it was you initially that pointed out to me, look how quickly North Korea went off the news cycle, and that was after, that was around the same time as the Boston bombing.
Yeah, the Boston firework bomb, that basically, in my opinion, was going to be set up to demonise, like I was saying in the last segment, the anti-government homegrown terrorist. That's why I honestly believe Plan A was with the Boston bombing. But with the Saudi, who was on a terror list, and he was on a terror list. He also had visited the White House 8 times prior to the Boston bombing. He is in America with a student's visa for Michigan, but here he is in Boston. We see him running away from the site of the bombing. His trousers are all blown off. He's in hospital with burns to his hand. Now, instead of him being the person of interest, which he was initially, he ends up on a flight back to Saudi, Nothing else said about him. And then that's
Kev.
when the false flag kicks in, Craig.
Kev, I think we'll need to expand on this later, mate. We've got a minute and a half to the next break, and I think what we're going to say, like, were you going to announce something, or?
Well, coming up after the break, like I was saying in the first hour, we're going to have a special guest. Now, we call him the Info Gimp. Now, it's not as bad as it sounds. What this guy is, I don't know if any of you have listened to Freeman out there. He kind of...
This was Kev's idea, people.
Yeah, it's just a kind of quirky kind of thing to add into the second hour. But it's going to be more like occult kind of information, hidden history, that kind of stuff.
Just a really good bit of info, Gimp. And if people like the idea, it was my idea. But if people don't like it, it was Kev's.
Yeah, I'll take the blame if it all goes horribly wrong. But I honestly think you're going to like what this guy has to say. I've only spoken to him briefly on Skype, and personally I was blown away, because this is the kind of stuff I'm into. And we're going to be taking another short break in a moment, so be sure to join us again after the break and listen to the debut of the Info Gimp on the debut of G.U.N.N, Glasgow Underground News Network.
And check out our YouTube channels on KIP 1883 on Freedom News Hub 2.0 and TruthTube 451. Catch yous after the break. Alrighty there, Radio Land, how you doing? You still with me, Kev?
I certainly am, Craig, and that's a bit of the show I'm really looking forward to. So, without any further ado, why not just bring on the Info Gimp?
Hey, hold on, man, I'll just need to open up the cage, man, bring out the Gimp. That's the cage opened, man, so, Kev, you were talking to...
Oh, Radio Land.
Alright, Mr. Info Gimp, how are you?
Hey, Kev, yeah, surviving. Another day in the concrete jungle.
Good stuff, man. So, what do you want to talk to us about tonight? Because the stuff we were talking about before the show, I wish we'd recorded it, because it was really good info.
Well, you know me, you've spoken to me a couple times now, and I've fairly got a different perspective on things. I don't really get too embroidered and up in the detail of, Israel and all that rest of that jazz. I'm far more interested in like what's happened in the past and knowledge that's being suppressed around us at the moment. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, unexplained mysteries. The seven wonders of the world, and what I think about them is so much more wondrous about than just what's on the judging a book by the cover. There's all these things that you'd probably heard about, like the Giza power plant. The guy wrote a book on that. That was the name of the book.
Yeah, I believe that was Christopher Dunn.
Yeah, I think you might be right there.
Yeah, absolutely awesome work. I've seen some of that. I must admit, I put a bit of weight behind that, so it certainly makes sense. I don't know what you make of it.
Well, I haven't actually read that book, we'll be honest. I did a lot of research on the pyramid, looking into, history of it, and basically just to, see what people knew about it. And there's so many different theories. I mean, I've seen theories where they built it by basically like water-based technology, lifting stones through like water gates, rising the pressure, and kind of like what they do with boats, in when they're building boats, that kind of carry on. And then I don't really believe in the normal story of how they built the pyramids. I don't quite know how they were built, but
well, I must admit, I don't know what Craig's take on this is, but when it comes to building the pyramids, like you say, what we see on the History Channel and everything else, it's just mince. It's all a story.
Here's an interesting thing, right?
Well, Gimp, can I just quickly introduce you? I just want to put in one wee quick point. When I was either 11, 12-year-old, I think, roughly. I went to Egypt, and I seen the Sphinx, and the proportion of the head on the Sphinx isn't in proportion with the body. The pictures and stuff you see on the TV don't give that justice at all. And then there's the evidence of the water damage on this the Sphinx as well. So that has to be taken into consideration. Hold on a sec. I'm just going to.
Well, Craig, I think what you're getting at there, Craig, is, and in my opinion as well, the Sphinx originally would have been a lion's head. Now, I don't know what you think about that info, Gimp.
I agree with that.
I believe when one of the dynasties would have came along and they'd have ripped down all the old gods.
So weathered and stuff. And on that note, that's not the only instance of that happening. I mean, if you look when Queen, or just to be vague about it, when one of the Egyptian pharaohs took over, you know, they went out of their way to wipe out Akhenaten and
take their faces off.
Not so much. Just wipe their names off of the wall of records. Tutankhamun, what's that one? You know, Freeman. Akhenaten, thank you. And Queen Nefertiti was another one. All of these people have been removed from the walls by other kings and stuff, and you know, I don't know if this is to do with them trying to bring in the monotheistic religion, or you know what the crack was, but the fact is they have been removed. On that note, you know, speaking about the pyramids, and we're on about being energy sources, what do I think about it? I heard an interesting story. It's the tale of Sir Siemens, you know, kind of like the phone company spelling, adventure, or whatever you want to call it. The story goes along the lines of he climbed up to the top of the pyramid, the one that's missing the cap, with two guides, you know, or you know, two helpers to bring them up. And when he got to the top, in order to conduct an experiment, he took a wine bottle filled with water and he wrapped it in a wet towel and he held it above his head.
This is a more interesting story than I usually hear involving wine bottles, but please continue, Gimp.
Apparently, that is what forms a rudimentary thing in science called a Leyden jar, which is kind of like an electrical capacitor. It stores energy. And so Sir Siemens, he held this jar in place above his head, and then their sparks appeared above the tip of the jar, above the glass lid of the jar. Sparks started appearing, so the story goes. I don't know, it hasn't been verified any further than it is kind of like a myth, but it does have some weight to it. Apparently the Sherpas, or whatever the hell they were, guides, don't know, natives, whatever you want to call it, they got freaked out, and apparently one of them grabbed them and ended up getting like a shock or a static shock, something like that, you know, and they freaked out and started shouting like, you know, demons, all this sort of carry on.
Is this related to the thing you were telling me the other day about the electricity on the top of the pyramids? Was that yourself that was telling me?
Yeah, that's
so that's related.
This is at the top of the pyramid. He's standing on the top of the pyramid with a jar wrapped in a wet towel, and somehow, look it up, Google it, Leyden, L-E-Y.
It's not Google, it's Ask Uncle Google. Come on, get it right.
I don't know if this all ties into it, but Richard Hoagland, he was recently down in South America, and he was taking measurements up one of the pyramids down there. And
Kev, is that the guy that does all the Inca stuff and that?
No, he used to work as he covered NASA for CNN and worked under Walter Cronkite. He worked under him. He's more of a space expert than anything else. But he's
sorry, Cronkite. Are you being anti-Semitic, Kev?
No. But like I was saying there, man, right? He's he goes up and down the pyramids there, and what he's doing is he's got a measuring device, and he's basically saying that there's some kind of torsion physics that are related to the shape of the pyramid. And if you picture, the best way I've heard it described is a donut of energy. That's a torsion field. So I don't know if that ties into this as well. It certainly sounds like it would be.
It almost sounds a bit like, remember earlier I spoke to you about the thing called the ABBA coil. This ABBA coil, what it does, essentially, it's almost like a donut of wires intertwined in a very, very complex manner around and around. And what scientists have found that it's been able to do is actually they attach a battery to it and charge the system, and then they pull electricity off of the other side of the circular coil. And what they've been finding is that the amount of electricity gained at the end actually outweighs the input of it. It's like an over unity device, but a simple electrical coil. Now, they can't quite explain this, and it's also not measurable. So when I say that it's pulling off more energy than is displayed, it might on a digital voltmeter read what's expected, but when the scientists hook up, I have been told, or I have read, that anything up to 200 LEDs, when it's only supposed to light something in the region of 16, it's still fully lighting, 200, 226 LEDs, and scientists cannot explain where this additional energy is coming from. They cannot measure it at the moment, but they can prove it's there, and that's the interesting thing about it. And then that moves on to the rodent coil, which is an even more recent discovery. It's to do with electromagnetic fields and resonating fields that can be held within metallic objects. It's really new and emerging. There's a couple of really interesting videos up on YouTube about it at the moment.
Well, in my opinion, InfoGimp, we should be piling millions into projects like that. I mean, the benefits for man it's inconceivable, but it reminds me of a story I've seen just recently, and this is going to sound as if it's absolutely off tangent, but it'll show you the kind of money that has been wasted at the minute, okay? It was a story from America. It was one of the universities, and basically they have funded a science department to the tune of $500,000 to create a set of underwear that will be able to detect whether you've had a cigarette or not.
What?
Exactly. No, I will link these up in the description notes to the show, okay? And what the purpose of that is, I don't know.
This is Maggie Thatcher's funeral.
But why aren't we putting that kind of money behind the likes of free energy devices and stuff like that? In reality, the device you're explaining there, it's probably going to be suppressed because there's going to be no profit in it. And as soon as there's no profit, then that kind of stuff is not going to be put out on a grand scale to your average guy in the street. I don't know what you think of that.
Well, Kev, you might have heard me mentioning in my very complimentary videos about Maggie Thatcher and her sad passing. I mean, I really have.
Craig, I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
No, I've got sympathy for the devil, mate.
But I'm sorry to interrupt you, right? But this is an article, and here's the headline. Government spent $402,721 to develop underwear that can detect cigarette smoke. And this says, United States Marine initially earns, it's the National Institute of Health has awarded more than $400,000 to a research project involving underwear that can detect when a person smokes cigarettes. The University of Alabama has received 2 grants totaling over $400,000 for the project, which has so far produced a very early prototype. I mean, what the hell is that all about? We're all living in austerity. Sorry?
Does it surprise you though, mate?
No, it doesn't surprise me, but I think it's a good example to show people of the absolute lunacy of what's going on right now.
It's a hell of an example. But I'm sure you've heard mentioned to you that the more of these things come up, and it's like, can you believe? And like paraphrasing again, but along the lines, can you believe it? And it's like more and more I find myself, well, unfortunately, yeah, I can believe it because like this.
But surely, Craig, in a sane world, we would be funding cures for diseases. Instead,
no, you cure the treatments, mate. Come on.
Again, it's all about the profit. There's no money in a cure. That's why they just like to, for example, chemotherapy. You become worth money the minute that you are diagnosed with cancer. What does that say about us, mate?
Kev, I've got stocks and shares in Prozac, so come on now. Pharmaceuticals are good.
Prozac, a drug that you obviously go to the doctor in the first place, present yourself as depressed, and then if you take the time to read the insert, some of the side effects are depression, suicidal thoughts, sickness, nausea. I mean, what is that all about? So then when you come off these tablets, you go back to the doctor again, and lo and behold, he puts you on a double dose because you look twice as bad now.
I think antidepressants is one of the best examples of the absolute lunacy of Big Pharma, and at 9 times out of 10, at best, it does nothing. At worst, it can destroy your life. I mean, I think it was yourself, Kev, that we were touching on.
Well, I hate to cut you off there, Craig, but we are going to be going out to another break. So please, if you're enjoying the show so far, join us again after the break. Don't forget to check out unboundradio.com, the website, and also on Facebook and Twitter.
The truth.
And the show that's coming up after us.
I believe it's Truth Frequency with Chris Geo. Join us after the break.
It's like we all know what's going down, but no one's saying shit what happened to the home of the brave.
It's our guest tonight, the Info Gimp. Just a bit of the bumper music going on there, Craig. Sorry, I must have talked over the top of it there. But yeah, I don't know where you want to take this now, Info Gimp. We'll hand it over to you. What have you got for us now?
Well, I don't know, like, he was a wee bit hungry during the breakdown, man, so I put him back on the stage. So, give me a wee second, I'll get him back out. Right, that's him. That's him back.
So, the Gimp has entered the building.
We were previously, before the break, we were talking about pyramids, and I did warn you I was going to rack your brain and find out how up to date you've been keeping with all the sort of esoteric side of things. So I was wondering if you've heard of these Antarctic pyramids that are kind of being stumbled across.
I've got pictures of them actually, man.
Yeah.
There was.
I know that you can link to them, you know, in the show. I think you should.
But I think anybody out there in Radio Land, if you just Google Arctic pyramids, you'll get a few very impressive pictures. On the same token, I'm sceptical, but the pictures are pretty.
There's one in particular that caught.
Are you still there, Craig?
Yeah, man. What happened there? We heard a bad noise.
I don't know what seems to have happened, but just carry on. We're still okay.
Are we still live?
Yes, we are.
One of the photographs that I've seen that he showed us actually showed the pyramid tops in the Antarctic. They lined up exactly how Egypt lines up.
Are you talking about the Orion Belt, the three?
Yeah, there's one with 3 of them, and they're in the right position. So I thought that was quite crazy. And there's been new discoveries, or there's been new emerging reports, shall I say, of a pyramid city being found below the Bermuda Triangle.
Well, that touches on,
and it's not the first time that something like that has happened.
Yeah, it opens up a whole new subject, because number one, you've got the pyramids in China, right? At the moment, the government are suppressing them and basically putting farms on top of them. But there's
that underground place off the coast of Japan is immense. You've
got pictures, as you're saying, off the coast underwater, off Japan.
Oh, that's a 5-step pyramid.
You've got pyramids dotted all round the world. Pyramids aren't built with any. I'm searching for the word now. I think it's biological matter or whatever. The stuff that allows you to carbon date things.
Yeah.
Now, granted with inside the pits and stuff that the archaeologists that use to date it, they obviously use the pits dig down in any matter that they can carbon date. That gives them a rough estimate when that pit was dug or left. But a lot of that stuff has been heavily controlled, especially out of Egypt, about the carbon dating matter.
Well, I believe the carbon dating now is actually up in the air, because there was an example where the half-life of it actually altered. So I think we'll need to look into that, because I believe, I'm not sure, but I think that dating process is now kind of a grey area.
I think
well, Kev, on it, like, I don't know whether this is a tangent or whether it ties in nicely. You only need to look at the way DNA was initially served up as this holy grail of everybody's going to have to know, and then you only need to look at the way over the years, and it's only certain cases, granted, but it shows you the way DNA can get manipulated, and this is over here in the UK. One of the cases was that policewoman who get fingered for a crime because her DNA turned up at the crime scene, even though that it was blatantly obvious it was a contamination of evidence, and it took her, I think it was 3.5 years to clear her name. Then, actually speaking, I was speaking to the guys from flippingthepyramid.co.uk. I was speaking to them earlier on. One of the guys from them a while ago, and he was telling me a story about a lady who wanted to frame an ex-boyfriend, and without getting too crass, went basically through the rubbish bin, found, let's say, a DNA sample, put it somewhere you didn't want to put it, and claimed rape. So it's carbon dating, it's a tool, but it cannot be used as any definitive answers. I don't think. Just
on that note,
let's bring in the GIMP.
That reminds me of a story I heard a while back about a court case over, and I think it might have been France, in fact, I believe it was India.
Sorry, Gimp, I just need to cut you off there. We're going to be going out to another break. It's as if the break came up upon you there, Gimp. It just knows when you're about to hit us with something predictable.
I'll unzip the GIMP after the break.
No problem. So join us again after the break.
Right, well, thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll be back with you straight after these messages from somebody else.
Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga. Bush knocked down the tower. Tell the truth, nigga. Bush knocked down the tower. Tell the truth, nigga. Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga. Bush knocked down the tower. Tell the truth, nigga.
Well, welcome back after the break, everybody. You're listening to Glasgow Underground News Network. This is our premiere broadcast, our debut broadcast. And how's things over there with you, Craig?
All good, my friend. All good, as always.
Thankfully, I thought we'd lost you there, my friend.
Oh, I just had to let the GIMP man who's kind of about.
Well, before the break, we'd gone on about the pyramids and everything else, and I think tying in the pyramids to everything else, I think it's a good time now to broach the subject of the Anunnaki. What do you think of that info, Gimp? What kind of stuff have you got for us on the Anunnaki?
Well, if you were to ask me what I actually believe with regards to Earth and its past history and stuff, I'm pretty much a believer in what the ancient Sumerians said happened. That some sort of race came to planet Earth, and they interacted with our species, and they changed our evolutionary path.
So where did the aliens come from?
Okay.
Is that another debate?
No, at all. I mean, I believe in life. I actually believe that there's probably life floating about our universe. Not our universe, our solar system, to be more precise.
I think it would be very naive to think we're the only show in the universe. I don't know what you think of that, but
look at some of the videos and stuff of, like, see if you actually look at the sky at night through
that's copyrighted by the BBC.
Through night vision, right? If you actually watch it through night vision at night, and if you whip out the infrared filter, you'll see stuff in the skies that you just cannot see with the naked eye.
Yeah, people make a lot of money from that, and I would put that down to meteorites, satellites, and all.
Oh no, Craig, not at all. I've seen.
I can believe a lot of stuff, but like
just
a lot of that stuff
right there and right now. Meteorites and all that don't work on an infrared light frequency,
and they also don't do right-angled turns.
Well, Kev, I'm not talking about those ones. I'm talking about the ones that somebody sticks on a night vision on the camera, points it to the sky, and might catch a satellite, a bit of space debris, it could be anything, and it's flashing in the sky and then goes UFO.
That being said,
I'm not saying UFOs don't exist. I'm saying
just merely by definition, they are UFOs.
what do you think about those space clips, from the astronauts in the space stations where they've said, like, oh, we've got an object at such and such, and it's like, it's moving?
I would love to believe them, but I'm sceptical about them.
I'm more inclined to believe in the space station footage than the moon landing stuff, because I'm a bit of a thing with that Van Allen radiation belt.
Well, I'll put something a bit strange out there, which is a kind of weird argument, and not a lot of people say it. But a lot of people ask me, do you think the moon landing was real, right? And I say, well, I believe we have been to the moon, but I believe all the footage that is portrayed has been the original, and then the following
made by
moon
Stanley
landings.
Kubrick.
Yeah, I believe that is just absolute bullcrap. I mean, again, it's like, take a step back and look at it. Would America risk? They well may have put a man on the moon before or after or during when those broadcasts were put out as
I think so.
As the Americans' version of the moon landing, but there's no way America would risk broadcasting that live and letting that fail live on air. There is no way.
Well, I think
have been to the moon.
One of the best pieces of evidence I've seen that kind of ties in with what the InfoGimp was on about, and it's basically footage of, you see Earth in the picture, and you see something approaching the Earth, and then you see a projectile being fired. Do you know what I'm on about, guys? Yeah?
Say that again, mate, so I get a picture, because I've seen
like a wide view of planet Earth, and there's an object moving towards it, and then you see two pulses of light, like a plasma weapon or something, being fired from Earth.
Yeah, you're talking about, like, sort of you would call it maybe black and white?
Yes, it is, yeah, it's one of the STS clips. It's also along with the one... There's also...
It's come from a satellite, and you see something, you see a couple of flashes, and then an evasive manoeuvre.
Yeah, there's also the famous clip as well of the tether that was put out into space, and you've seen it was almost like jellyfish-shaped craft coming and swimming in towards it. I say swimming in because it's the best way of describing it.
Yeah.
See, man, I'm still
jellyfish are amazing.
I can believe a lot. Like, well, Jesus, you know, I believe a lot of stuff, and I can be skeptical. I try and I don't try and be skeptical. I try and put a balanced perspective on things, and I think that could be explained by the amount of space debris that's up there and the sort of a camera or filter or whatever they were using picking that all up. And I know the tether incident is very well known, and there was there's no doubt, Kev, there was things up there that were showing signs of intelligent movement.
Well, for me, this is a bit of a way out theory, but you know I like my way out stuff. I'm a firm believer of the multiverse.
Well, you're a Celtic fan, Kev.
There is that, yeah, but I'm a multiverse proponent, so I am. And I think some of these things that we're seeing are actually interdimensional, as opposed to having craft of interstellar travel, if that makes any sense.
There's reason to think otherwise, Kev. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, people talk about be stupid to think that there's not life out there. Well, if you think about the quantum nature of the universe, you'd be stupid to think that there's not, sort of plasma or something other based life forms out there.
Do you not think that you need to draw a line between, right? Because I think there's a definition that has to be drawn between. Like, in my head, there is no doubt there's life out there, whether that life's a microbe or whatever. But is there not a definition? Is the question not? Is that
exist out there recently by?
Hold on, Gimp. Hold on, Gimp. You're going to hate that name. But anyway, I think there's got to be a definition drawn between, right, well, okay, like, I think anybody is dead arrogant to think there isn't any sort of a life out there. But on the other hand, the question lies for me, is there intelligent life out there? That's why when I go to the UFO question, I need to admit, man, it's a good gateway into asking questions.
Well, my point to you then, Craig, is I'll put this to you. Why does the Vatican spend so much time looking out to the heavens?
Well, mate. Jesus, man, you know I've got a pre-loaded answer for that stuff, man. That's all goes down to the one world religion, and why when you ask a Catholic if they're Christian, they won't say they're Christian.
Well, they're obviously going to try and paint up the second coming as being some kind of alien being, okay? So that suggests to me, within their
It's
life...
obvious, I would say, it's definitely up there for
Well, I think we've already seen them come out and said that they will, if any of our alien brothers turn up, they'll be willing to baptise them.
Look at the amount of religious leaders that the Vatican welcomes with open arms, and whose hand did they kiss? The Pope. And this isn't a dig at Catholics or anything, man. And I'm pretty sure a later time, later date and stuff, I'll be able to get into that more deeply and explain. And in fact, even just check out my YouTube channel, man, and you'll be able to see my thoughts on that. And it isn't any attack on any religion. It's more of that everything that's good and pure has been usurped and co-opted.
Well, see, while we're at the Vatican, Craig, we can even tie this back into Sumeria, because if you look at the Vatican City, you see all the pine cone symbology.
Well,
now, you also see that in the hieroglyphs and the pictograms that are dated back to Sumeria.
Well, the pine cone, as you're saying, it's in the hieroglyphs of Sumeria. Relating it to the Vatican, I've only seen the one sculpture.
It's quite a prominent one, though, you must admit.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm not saying there isn't very many more. Me personally, I've only ever came across one, and to get a wee bit more down that route, there's a lot of people out there that have suggested that relates to the pineal gland?
Yes, I definitely think it's a reference to the pineal gland and the third eye.
And what does your third eye relate to? Well, what could you draw a reference to? Could be the Illuminati pyramid.
Well, see, it's my contention that the Illuminati, with their symbology of pyramids and the eyes and everything else that we see on the television, they've hijacked the original meaning of all that symbology for their own nefarious purposes, shall we say. Now, what that symbology does to us on a subconscious level, I have no idea, but it's certainly, they throw it in our faces so much all the time.
Well, Kev, you say you have no idea, but come on, I mean, like, you look out your window, I mean, me and you were chatting the other day about that Polish guy that I was chatting to, and he stays in Edinburgh, and his 9-year-old daughter is getting, as the way of education and the way of street dance is getting taught. The boys were sitting down. The boys were sitting down, playing cards, and the girls were standing up there dancing for the boys. 9-year-old.
Well, again, that's just trying to alter the culture of this country. In Britain, the culture has been altered, hasn't it? I mean, even the language now. I can't even understand some of the young people from inner cities down in England. It's all this. I can't even imitate it, Craig. You know what I'm talking about. It's like hood talk.
I know exactly what you're saying, Kev. But it's probably a weird thing to put out there, especially with so many Americans trying to listen to us. Because no doubt there's 1,000,001 people out there right now that can't understand a word I'm saying. I don't know. I'm only going on what the YouTube comments tell me.
But well, the time we've got left in this segment, we were trying to get back to the Anunnaki and the Infogimp.
Oh right. Let's bring them back in.
We've gone off on a tangent yet again, guys. So let's get back on topic here. So, on you go, Infogimp.
Well, with regards to the Anunnaki, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that if a culture did come down to Earth many thousands of years ago, that they actually began around the area of Mexico City, down in Mexico, where the Nazca lines
Mexico City down in Mexico. Sorry.
Not to be confused with New Mexico in America.
Right.
Just thought I'd clarify that, or Mexico, or
Mexico, Glasgow, and all.
Yeah, we'll go with that, right? So anyway, what's happened over there is they've got a vast mountain range, and the tips of all the mountains have actually been basically they've been taken off of the top, and there's no rubble to be found anywhere at all. Not down the sides of the mountains, not at the tops of the mountains. They're perfectly flattened, and there's runways built on top of them. And no scientist on Earth can explain this. So
would this be classified as North America?
Mexico,
well, sort of
Central Mexico,
Central America.
Yeah.
You only have to look at some of the Mayan pyramids as well. They were quite flat on the top.
Yeah, well, this is on top of a mountain. Yeah,
this is
this isn't a pyramid on the ground. This is on top of a mountain. It's the mountain tops have been flattened.
So
I think that's
just
mostly overlooked.
We've just got about a minute before we go to break. So where you're going with that infogimp is, and we'll obviously continue this after the break. But where you're going with that is like you've got some sort of a theory about where the rubble from the top of the pyramid went from the top of the mountain. Went to.
There's always room to speculate.
And I don't know, and I'm going to speculate right now. I think it might have, like your theory might involve using some of that rubble towards building those pyramids, which I believe a lot of them are still, a very, very, very lot of them are still buried underneath forest.
I've actually got more.
Well, guys, the time has crept up on us again, so we'll be going out to the break in a second. Join us again after the break for the last segment of the
Good
show.
topics, great guests, all the time. That radio on your biscuit. You in the glove.
Same place, same time next week.
It's the destruction of the current.
Bin Laden didn't blow up projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga.
You still with me, Kev?
Certainly am. I think we've gone over the top of the audio again, coming back, but that's all part of an amateur hour on our first radio show here at UNBOUND.com.
Kev, don't be silly, man. This isn't amateur hour. This is the new best podcast in the world. Well, the universe, sorry.
It's the most improved podcast.
On a minute-to-minute basis, maybe, aye.
Well, I think what we were going to do is we're going to hand over to... We're going to drop the InfoGimp name, guys, because JP, the real name of the InfoGimp, is far too knowledgeable to have such a negative tagline to him.
I don't know, I'm not so keen on that. I think we should wait and see whether... I think the InfoGimp could go far.
Well, InfoGimp, you were telling me you had some information on a place called Oak Island, so take it away, man.
Kev, hold on, I just need to unzip him again. And you go InfoGimp.
All right.
So you're talking about Oak Island.
We were talking about things that you might not be aware of, and I happen to know of this thing. It's an island off the coast of Canada, off the east coast of Canada, called Oak Island. And for the better part of the last 150 years, it's actually remained a huge mystery. What they found over in Oak Island was a massive pit, perfectly circular. You know, we're talking like pie circular here. A hole maybe about, I believe it is 30 meters or 20 meters in diameter across, and this hole literally goes down into the ocean floor from the island. Now, they tried excavating it, and when they started excavating it, what they found is that after the first 10 meters, they found lined timber floor, and then they found coconut fibers on top of the timber base, right? Now, coconut fibers aren't indigenous to Canada, so part of the mystery is no one really knows where these coconut fibers came from. But every 10 feet down exactly, was another line of timber covered in coconut fiber. Now, so far to date, it has been excavated for the last 150 years, and they've had to stop excavating it on about 4 separate occasions. It's currently stopped right now. It's deemed like too dangerous. What's been happening is when they've been digging down, every 20 or 30 feet, maybe every 3 levels, they've hit a point whereby there's a shaft attached to the side of the tunnel downwards that leads out to the ocean.
Now, JP, would I be right in saying that this is actually rumoured that maybe the Knights Templar could have landed here, or the Vikings?
Yes.
Yes.
Don't know where you heard that, but that's absolutely true.
Oh, Kev's a Mason.
Yeah, that's it. It is rumoured that the Ark of the Covenant might be at the bottom of this. I don't know if.
And what's
anyone
the
else
Ark of the Covenant, JP? Come on, you're the info gimp. Tell us.
The Ark of the Covenant.
What do you think it
I
is?
believe it's an ancient. I believe it's actually an ancient device that can produce food. I don't know how.
Do you want me to tell you what I think it is?
Yeah, go for it.
I think it's an ancient slave manual.
What?
My take on it is it's actually some kind of nuclear reactor.
That's the way Freeman looks at it, because obviously Moses wears his veil and stuff after coming in contact with it.
Yeah.
But what you need to look at, what happens with the people who are reportedly
They all seem to have
what happens with the people that's in charge of the Ark of the Covenant? They can become really powerful and enslave a lot of people.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah, but I mean, one of the rumoured sites of the Ark of the Covenant is a place in Ethiopia, and it's a small church, and it's
I don't
rumoured
buy that one, buddy, but to be honest, but in fact, it's definitely up there for consideration,
Yeah.
but I don't really buy it, man.
whether you buy it or not, it's still out there for
Oh,
discussing. I mean,
definitely, man.
what is rumoured is the guys, the monks, are looking after it. After a period of time, they go blind, their hair falls out, and they display symptoms which could only be described as radiation sickness.
Aye. Well, biblically speaking, that's exactly what's happened to
And I
people.
think what JP was kind of describing was, would I be right in saying manna? Was it producing manna?
Yeah, that's what I semi-believed that it could have been for. I mean, the one that got me was the fact that the story goes along the lines of they travelled through the desert, and I thought to myself, well, if they were going to be gifted ancient technology, maybe a device that would have kept them alive during their 40 years wandering the desert, because it doesn't really explain where they got the food.
No, it certainly does not, and I've got a bit of a controversial take on the Bible, and I think it's mainly just a metaphor for something else, and it's all kind of astro-theology.
Personally,
Well, that Kev, would I be right in saying you've drawn those analogies from the Zeitgeist?
Yeah, well, Zeitgeist is certainly one of the places I took the information from. Zeitgeist itself, I kind of cherry-picked the information from that. And I've just noticed, guys, that we've got 45 seconds left in this show, so is there anything you want to say, Craig?
Just stay tuned, and I'll work on my intros on the way back from the break.
You can join my YouTube channel at TruthTube451.
Oh, we need to get plugs in, mate.
I'm
that's
also on Facebook. I've got a Facebook group page, and that's Mr. Glasgow Truther. Craig?
And you can check me out, Kip's Clips, Kip, CIP 1883 on Freedom News Hub 2.0 on YouTube. You'll find me there. And you'll
We'll
get
be
my
back.
YouTube and
We'll be back at the same time next week, and we promise to have it a lot more polished by then. Thanks for joining us.
And check out the show that's coming up next.
TruthFrequency.com.
It's going to be great.
with Chris G.U.N.N.